So I'm gonna give the people a chance to get in before I start digging into the history, because it's a lot we not looking at, but there's a lot we need to see. So this is a late night session, Chiefing with the Chief. This is a review of government powers versus corporate powers and how the corporation end up convincing us that they was our government. See, one of the hardest things for us to realize is the appearance of legitimacy will never legitimize a bald-faced lie. How y'all doing, people? Come on in. Invite who y'all know. Invite y'all whole friends list. We're gonna go over a little because here go the problem is that we got different systems running, overlapping each other, all of them appearing to work together for a unified agenda, but they all got different agendas. And these systems are not all established by the same people, but there are all these people that's coming to loot, pillage, and rape the land, the babies and the women. We looking at it, but we only can see the sunny side of the egg. We don't see the side where the rubber meet the road, where the egg meet the skillet, right? We only see the sunny side because they only want us to see the side of the agenda that they present that make them appear to be working on our behalf, and they are not. They never been working for us. They never been doing anything to benefit us. And matter of fact, all of the benefits that they extract from the people and from the land, they extend those benefits to foreign powers in foreign places to extend their totalitarian reach, what they call in their doctrine the long arm of the law. Now, when we looking at the corporation, right, you have a military branch of the occupiers. This includes all branches of the military, National Guard, Coast Guard, and police forces. They look like they all have a common agenda, but they don't. The military that they populate with the people from the land, they use them to extend their totalitarian reach beyond the limits of the borders of the geography called North America. Most of us don't know that Canada and North America is the same thing, or the United States and Canada is one corporation. How do I know that? Because the CUSIP number, C-U-S-I-P, the CUSIP number, which is the registration number of the corporation, is the exact same number, meaning it's the exact same company. Meaning that England divided the land up among England, right? And they gave the crown holdings of the far north, what we call beyond the Canadian border, to be governed by the Royal Army of England, called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, right? Notice that they're called police at the end, right? But they call them Mounties so that you never equate the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. You'll never equate them with the police of the varying different cities in the America. In the Policia in Mexico and Puerto Rico, and all of them are occupiers. So one of the biggest lies they told us is that the League of Nations was the first effort to organize a united front among the European powers. Following that the United Nations was the recovery for the failed attempts at the League of Nations after World War One. Well, they've been in the league the whole time, and the police force is under the control of Buckingham Palace, and the charter for the police, the working police manual, what they go get their method of operation from, is chartered out of England. The English forces was under treaty with French and Spanish forces as a way to call the coup or the rebellion that they called the Civil War. If you go back and you remember, you had your red coats and you had your blue coats. They don't talk about the white coats and the gray coats though, because now you start to talk about the Iroquois Confederacy, the tribal nations that was 9 treaty tribes that formed alliances against the red coats and the blue coats. Then you're looking at it as they telling you one English, one British. I'm like, wait a minute, England is in Britain. What is they talking about? But we don't ask those questions. So when they came over here, the way that we did things is like the Quakers. Whatever remember, it was all about religion. The religion of the owners of the corporation are the bankers that we call Khazarians. They are the owners of the banks that the military required in order to do military operations. Right? Now I have to refer y'all back to the Gulf War, Bush Cheney, Halliburton contracts to control the area. Not until Biden dumped all that equipment over in Afghanistan did they leave. They've been over there for 20 years at that point. And so he left billions of dollars in surplus military stock because the bankruptcy told them that that was insured. So if he leave all of these military armaments in Afghanistan, it is insured as a side effect of warfare, and that's why Congress didn't object to him pulling out on short notice. Yeah. So now you have these Khazarians that's owning the banks. They the ones can dictate how the military branch of government is moving, because you're in an occupied territory. Now, if you go back and look, they call us enemy combatant tribes. They call us belligerent tribes. They call us non-treaty tribes. They call us non-treaty dependent nations. They call us all that, right? But where are we? And as they're making this advance, fighting them every step of the way. But don't nobody want to listen to the other chiefs. The chiefs are not communicating effectively enough to put up a sufficient enough front to stop them in their tracks and run them off the land. Can't do that. You can't fight a war at home and abroad at the same time. It's not going to never work. It's going to always be disaster in the end. Right? So they got us up here believing that we going in the fight and Uncle Sam's army is defending us over here. No, it's not. The U.S. military's job is not to defend us, it's to defend the banks. That's what they're here for. The banks are commissioned through the barristers as banksters. They call privateers and racketeers, but they are banksters, right? And what they do is they come in under the salvage right and they start to catalog everything. This is what your tax returns is, the cataloging of the property. So while you doing their work for them, you making it easier for them to keep you in the bondage of the oppressive regime. So what they did to us was they went behind us. We left all of the major cities to go fight the Gullah Wars, what they call the Seminole Wars. And that's how you know who's telling the story. The Gullah Wars, we telling it. We teaming up, all tribes across the land teaming up with the Gullah Geechee, the Getty Geechee. Because it ain't just Gullah Geechee, it's Getty Geechee, it's Getty Geechee. These are all different clans under the same prime stock, right? So you're looking at these different tribes, you're looking at branches on a tree. The root stock of all of the tribes of North and South America, Central America, the islands, the root stock is the old Mississippians. This is the oldest clans that was over here. And we go all the way back to Atlantis. And when you're talking about your Aztec, Inca, Maya, that's the same people. Toltecs, those are the ancient Mississippians, but they from a different part of the land, same people, what we call root stock. The root stock marrying other tribes from around the world created what we call branches of the family tree, right? The prime stalk of the tree, which we call the trunk. We call it the trunk because it is the mimic of the elephant trunk that caused the family to dinner. Well, that was a whole ancient practice that we used to do because we wasn't using bells yet. We was having the animals do the work, and the elephant was assigned that at a certain time of day, he raised her trunk up and she called everybody home with a roar. And we, humans, don't even know elephants is organically original to North America. We, we don't know, the organic people of the land don't know, lions came from over here. We took them motherfuckers over to Africa. We took them to Asia. We sent them as presents and gifts around the world, and they came over here and killed them all off. But see, they don't want to talk about that because they want you to believe everything that we doing is tied back to Africa in order to displace us from the homeland. America is the most critical piece of land on the planet because this is the land of Tahuti, the firstborn of the earthborn parthogenic son of the Great Mother. And his job is to defend Earth. So when you come over here, know that all of the sons of the Great Mother is present to whoop your ass back home. Wherever you from. We don't care where you from. We ain't no respecters of person, no big eyes, no little views. We ain't gonna bully you, but you sure as hell ain't gonna bully us. Right? We ain't gonna push you down, but we sure in the hell ain't gonna back down either when you start pushing. So you got to realize that just because we kind and generous and good-hearted people don't mean we don't, because the same amount of good we got in us is the same amount of bad we'll pour out on your candy ass. Yep. The tiger is it's a hybrid. It's not even an original cat, and I'm not going to go into that. It's a different stock of lion. That's why it acts different, because it was derived from crossing the lion with a now extinct species of cat that produced the tiger. Just like the Bengal tiger is the biggest tiger, right? They had lions that used to dwarf a Bengal tiger. Over here, we had giant lions. We had woolly mammoths. They killed them off. They got y'all thinking it ain't been no woolly mammoths for thousands of years. No, we used to ride woolly mammoths only about 400, 500, 600 years ago. We was riding woolly mammoths. All of a sudden, we don't got no elephants on the land no more. We don't got no bison. They killed almost all of them off. They killed off almost all of the original lions. Now, you can imagine a lion running across a bear in the woods. That's a fight to behold. Yeah. So, even the camel. The camel not from the Middle East. They got y'all thinking the camel from Arabia, Iraq, Iran. No, the camel from South America. It was originally from the tribes of South America. The same with the llama. They cousins. But they come over here, they kill all our camels off so that they could tell us the camel ain't from over here, so they can rewrite history to structure it how they want it. But science got a weird way of digging stuff up. Archaeologists and anthropologists. The archaeologists is the ones digging it up to give you the keys. The anthropologist is the one throwing you off the trail. they slick. Yep. The whole like, you can look up tree walker tribes and you can find around the world tribes that lived like the old Mississippians. Big Tukey was what we call a sky tribe chief, right? We talking about tree walkers, literally, not tree walkers in the sense of that guy could climb a tree real good. They had scaffoldings. You can go up, and back in the day in Louisiana, up a tree in the bayou. And you get up there, you're going to meet a whole nother set of living style, whole different lifestyle, whole different set of our tribes that lived in the treetops. They don't tell us these lumberjack stories, Babe the Blue Ox and Paul Bunyan stories just because they slick. They tell us them stories to make mockery of us by declaring that the ones that chopped our trees down was a giant of a man in comparison to the ones who used to live in them instead of removing them. They use these psychological tactics, but we don't know what they doing because our perception of psychology is not that deep. Psychology is a ancient temple science from the temple priests. Psychiatry, if you go back and you look at Sigmund Freud's desk, you got all these African artifacts on there. Don't nobody know why. Because that's who was teaching him the principles of psychiatry and the utilization of herbs in order to balance the chemistry of the brain. And he brought it over here with his crackhead ass, because he was a crackhead way back then. He was a crackhead before we knew what crack was. Right? Hey, Nikki. And so, all this stuff, like when y'all be hearing me talking, and then sometimes y'all be hearing me bring up information that you never heard before. Our 12-year-olds used to do this stuff. Like right now, I'm still suffering from arrested development. I'm not fully unleashed. I'm still suffering from arrested development, memory lapses, and where I could grab onto a subject. I know what I'm talking about, and then I just go blank. That's all part of that spell. But I be fighting it so hard that it can only last for so long, and I'm going to snap up out of it because I understand what's working, how it works, so then I know how to approach the information to shake it loose from their traps that they put on us using the conjures. You can play with shit, but you're going to stink when you get done. That's a fact. You can play with shit, but you're going to stink when you get done because you're going to smell just like shit. Right? So, when we looking at the history, when Noble Ali say in Circle 7 to worship under your own vine and fig tree, everybody was supposed to have their own tribal structure. The tribal structure for the people that came over here was called a constitution. Most of the tribes had an oral constitution, and the child normally learned it in pieces as he grew up, so that by the time he become the chief, he can recite the constitution from beginning to end without missing a beat. They kept this practice alive in Islam with the ones who remember the Quran called the Hafiz, right? They did the same thing in Christianity. I don't know what they called them, but they used to have people that used to memorize the Bible. Then you have them in India that memorize the Mahabharata. So while all these people is memorizing this stuff, this is based on the old ancient oral tradition. In order to be a thing, you must become that thing in which you aspire to be. And you become it by stage and degree, by little piece or bite of information that you build on top of. When my mama was teaching me stuff when I was a little boy, I never knew that puzzle solving, finding lost things and stuff she used to make a big deal when I was 2, 3 years old. That didn't seem like a big deal. Like, why is this such a big deal? Would come back to become a skill that I would need in order to get all of these pieces from different places around the world and put this puzzle together and be like, wait a minute, we got tricked like a mother. Did y'all see that trick? No, we didn't see it. Damn. I'm the only one seeing the trick. You apparently the only one seeing it. You're the only one saying it. Then after I started talking about it, then other people started saying, wait a minute. This guy on to something. He sounded crazy for a minute, but now that I listen to what he's saying, so America was only supposed to have been a small settlement. It was never supposed to have been a national government. It was never supposed to absorb 50 states or 50 territories under one structure. They did that in violation of every tribe from the East Coast to the West. They figuratively and literally raped us into submission and economically. Look, I keep telling people, if you pay attention to history, it tells on itself. It's not like a far stretch. Now remember, from the narrative they gave us, we all came over from Africa on slave ships. This same narrative, they said that paleface can't teach us to read. It was against the law. Paleface can't sell us land. It's against the law. Paleface can't let us sit at the same dinner tables with them. It was against the law. No, it wasn't. It was against the code of vine and fig tree. Anybody can come over here, but you have to stay in your own community. And that's why you got a Chinatown, right? That's why you got a Koreatown, a little Mexico, or you have a little India, where all of these communities from around the world come over here and they stay together. But then they go out on the land to make a living, but then they all come back to their community, right? Them gated communities are the dirty motherfuckers that's running everything in New Jersey and New York. They don't want to intermingle with us on a day-to-day basis. They only want our money. So they go stay in them gated communities and call us every kind of low life it is because they looking at us as savages living off the fat of the land instead of living off industrialization. I'd rather be living off the fat of the land than working a 9 to 5. I'd rather have a farm than work in the factory. Right? See, all these ladies talking about they want a husband. No, you don't. No, you don't. A husband is a farmer. A husband is a land cultivator. A husband is an animal breeder. He's a geneticist of the family's farm to make sure he can produce the optimum feedstock for the family. He is a seed analyst to determine which seeds should be planted. He is an almanac writer. Fuck the reader. You don't want no husband. That dude got to put in too much work. By the time you get him, he gonna be old as me. And he gonna be wondering why all these people married and lived their whole life while he was just training himself to be a good husband, a good farmer, a good management of the land. You can't manage the land when you have outside forces undermining your management capabilities. So they wasn't allowed to sell us land. This is the kicker. This is the biggest one nobody's paying attention to. Go get Black Labor, White Wealth by Claude Anderson. And look at how much property we owned in 1900. And look at how much property we own now. That's from 1900. Go back further and the plots of land gets much bigger. But the $1 million question ain't nobody asking is, if these niggas came on slave ships, and if these niggas got free from the plantation, who the hell gave them all this land when they weren't allowed to purchase land from palefaces? Where they get the land that the sharecroppers deceived them out of under sharecropping agreements and fraudulent contracts? Where did these people that look like me get this land if we all came from Africa as slaves and they not allowed to sell us land? Where did we get the fucking land? How do we get land in a place where we are the foreigners? When nobody's allowed to do corporate business with us. Remember, they hide behind the pale faces in order to know when we coming to do business, they ain't one of us, because they wouldn't have been coming to do business with you. That's how you know they one of them people from this land, and they believe this narrative that you actually running this piece. You ain't running nothing. All you is a figurehead. You are a company emblem. You a logo. In my doctrine, in this chess game called white supremacy, we wondering why was we referred to as black? We was on the defense. Black people are the defenders of the land. We are the Black Panthers. We are the Black Gorillas. We are the Black Eagle Clan, the Black Foot, the Black Hawk. All of these is the defending tribes of the 9 treaty nations that went from fighting bloody war with guns, spears, and bows and arrows to fighting a war using the conjure, because it was a ceasefire agreement. And the only way to break the contract and end it all is one of the chiefs that's in the amnesia state have to educate himself out of the amnesia. Still don't mean he won't suffer from some of the effects, but I'm going to tell y'all this. If y'all think Rod Hayes cold now, wait until my brain get fixed. My brain broke still. I had epilepsy when I was little because my brain got broke. Wait till, I ain't put back together yet. Wait till I get put back together. Then I'm going to show y'all something. I'm just, like right now, I'm just armchair revolutionarying. I'm giving y'all new lenses to look through to see the deception that's being played, so that the mystic powers over your mind, that childhood fascination they held as people and powers over you, is no longer effective. And that's when we ready to claim what's rightfully ours. People keep asking me, how do I get my ancestral land back? Well, 9 out of 10, it won't be the same plot, but you will be compensated. The whole land got to be redistributed. The whole structure of all of the clans have to be restructured. New lines of demarcation, new capital cities, new metropolises. Everything has to move from what it was to what we decide as a tribal confederacy, a confraternity of clans across the land, how to re-put this back together. And believe me, I don't believe in life in prison, but I sure as hell believe in the death penalty. I don't believe in life in prison, but I sure as hell believe in the death penalty. Because some of these motherfuckers is not fit to be living among regular humans. I got to tell y'all that because it's true. I don't have to like it, but it's true. Some of these people that's in these institutions is so effed up that they are not fit to walk the street with regular people, because they're going to be a problem and you're not going to have an answer for the problem when it comes. But the majority of them you can work with. Like, I'm talking about 90%. But it's the other ones that we worried about. They done made some monsters some horrible individuals out of what was a human, right? They didn't ruin them. They no longer fit. So, I mean, I don't believe in life in prison, but I believe in the death penalty. But the people that's not fit, I don't know what to do with them. I have no clue what to do with the ones that they didn't ruin so bad that you can't let them walk down the street with regular people. Can you imagine how bad they didn't mess somebody up where they can't walk down the street with regular people lest they look for a cause of action to ruin somebody else's life? I was in there. I looked in some of the coldest, darkest eyes you could ever see. And I done looked in some of the coldest, bluest eyes you'd never see. And I done looked in some of the coldest hazel eyes you'd never see. But ain't none of these motherfuckers got no soul. And all these motherfuckers ain't pale. They got people who look like me. Look, I had a Bunky being so tormented. Well, Bunky is the dude that's your roommate in prison. Your Bunky, your Sally, depending on where you at. But I had one that was being so tormented that he used to have nightmares that's terrifying, the energy that's projected off of him while he's going through this nightmare. It make you look. In the street, a lady wake up next to him having a nightmare might hurt him. She might hurt him. I don't know. You can't just turn them loose on no island like that. You know, that used to be a way that they used to punish people in Europe, exile you to an island. But I mean, I don't believe in making people excessively suffer. So I wouldn't exile nobody to an island like that. But I don't know if y'all don't even know, y'all can't even imagine. I can get downright wicked and still won't scratch the surface of these people. I ain't backing down from no dragon, right? And some of these people gonna make the dragon back down. This is a whole nother level of destruction of the psyche of the human. This is worse than creating the Manchurian candidate, because this one don't have a shut-off code. At least a Manchurian candidate got a activation code and a shut-off code. Some of these creatures they made, these things that they did to people, right? So when we look back at the history, we don't see nobody explaining with a valid story of how we end up going from being slaves to owning all of this land. Look, the narrative that we told in history, ask anybody if I'm making this up that know our history. Frederick Douglass was said to have left the plantation after he whooped Massa. Let that marinate for a minute. Super nigga. He whooped Massa, left the plantation, and lived happily ever after. Don't that story sound a little fishy? Don't it sound a little weird? Frederick Douglass was a slave, so they say. And he got to be a teenager up in age. And the master came out there and jumped on Fred, and Fred whooped his ass. What's the one from the Boondocks? The super nigga from the Boondocks? Oh man, what's that dude name? Catcher Freeman. Catcher Freeman. That nigga had to be Catcher Freeman, man. Look, Frederick Douglass grew up on the plantation. Y'all paying attention, right? And now remember, if you put your hands on Massa, they killing you. And Massa came out, decided that Fred was getting too big for his britches. So we gonna learn him a lesson. Come here, Fred, I'm gonna learn you one today, boy. And went to whooping on Fred. Fred tore his ass up. You don't have to believe me. It's in the autobiography of Frederick Douglass because he told that lie. He said that he whooped Massa and then he left. He didn't say he left running and sneaking. He said he packed his bags and left. Like he left with a duffel bag. Like he left. He walked off the plantation, broad open daylight, never looked back, and they ain't never come pursuing him. This the story they tell us now. We supposed to believe it. Anybody do this sound strange or oddly off a little bit to anybody besides me? He in the plantation south. On the plantation with the slave master. Look, Frederick Douglass wrote in his autobiography. He grew up on the plantation. When he got to smelling his testicles, the master came out there trying to force him to do something. Him and Fred get to scrapping. He gonna learn Fred something today. And Fred turned around and learned Massa a lesson. He didn't just learn him a lesson. He learned Massa a lesson. Then he went and packed his bag and left in broad open daylight. He just walked off the plantation with no resistance. Nobody not saying, I paid $300 for you. None of this. He just walked off the plantation. Why would they let one of us, when in the height of slavery now, we supposed to be oppressed. We supposed to be beyond oppressed. We supposed to be less than human with no rights. And they just let this one catcher Freeman decide after he whooped Massa ass, he just gonna walk off the plantation. And we don't find that story kind of fishy. But I brought Frederick Douglass up for a different reason. But that just sticks out so broad in my mind. Like, who is this nigga to whoop the Massa and then walk off with no resistance? Right? So look, there was a bank in the Carolinas, I think, and the bank was in distress. Frederick Douglass had the money and the means to bail the bank out. Where you get that money from? Anybody hustles the block know it ain't easy to come up with $1,000. It's not easy to get $1,000. Frederick, fresh out of slavery, whooping a slave master, supposed to be in hiding. Mind you, he supposed to be in hiding, but he some kind of way come up with enough money to bail this bank out. Where you get all that money from? And what about them other Negroes that was also having all of this money to support, finance, and maintain banks? Where them banks go, though? Who absorbed them, and how did they end up losing their prominence and power? See, those was tribal banks is what y'all not paying attention to. And these tribal banks was being shut down by outlaws. And as the outlaws shut down tribal banks, the corporate bank then had to expand because other banks was not able to keep up with a stable currency. So the currency that's stable is the one that's coming out of the U.S. Mint. And it wasn't the Federal Reserve at that time, but Congress was printing and producing the money for the corporation. Those are just credits. That's why they're not backed by nothing. They had nothing to do with the real wealth of the land that's being extracted by the outside forces. Those are credits. Those are internal notes to only further to settle debts within the circle of those who were supposed to be under their own vine and fig tree. And their vine and fig tree was defined by the original constitution that only gave them 13 colonies. And then they had a centralized colony called DC that came about on the heels of the constitution when they instituted the artificial Masonic government under the Scottish Rite Freemasons, and they began to set up Washington, D.C., which was Rome. And then they tell you all roads lead to Rome. And Rome, Rome, that D.C. was founded by a guy named Francis Pope. Ain't that something? We on our way out of this, and Pope Francis is the Pope of Rome, or so they tell us. I think he a robot. They keep sliding him under the bed every night. I couldn't figure out for the longest why they keep putting this man in this box until I zoomed in a little closer and I looked and I was like, oh shit, he ain't even human. I thought he was a vampire at first and that was the old vampire in the coffin. No, he ain't even human. He's a whole android. That's like Mark Zuckerberg. He just, whatever data is on Star Trek, that's what Zuckerberg is. They the same. They the same amount of a sentient being. Not the actor, the character the actor on Star Trek is playing. That character of data, that's what Mark Zuckerberg is. And he haven't aged since junior high school. He still looked the same. Make it make sense. What'd he do? Grew 3-4 inches? Since junior high school? Come on now. Make it make sense. It don't make sense. Nobody that got regular blood pumping through their veins defying age without the assistance of a genetic correction. And believe me, he ain't got access to it yet. Okay, so now the whole purpose of making us think we from Africa. I'm going to do another video in the next couple of days. Why I would be proud to be an African if I was from Africa. I'm not African, but I love them the Mau Mau. Patrice Lumumba. Walter Rodney. Stephen Biko. Right? Mau Mau. They went through the same thing we went through. The history is very, very similar, only they took some of us from over here and dumped over there so that they could tell us that we are from over there when they go get their DNA, and then they try to match our DNA up. And we too stupid to see what the game they playing. They taught us how to be this stupid because the human is naturally not this dumb. You cannot be this dumb by nature and be a human. We had to be systematically taught how to be dumb as a human. Because, like, right now where I'm at, I'm teaching on a 6th grade level the information that I be putting out. That's 6th grade in the temple complex. Where you could get a good understanding of where we, how complicated education was in the temples of Kemet versus now. Aesop's Fables. Aesop's Fables is children's story. The Aesop's Fables is children's story to prime them for higher education. And half the adults now do not get Aesop's Fable. They can't understand Aesop's Fables. That was for 3 and 4-year-olds in ancient Kemet. Go back, get the book Aesop's Fables and just read it. Matter of fact, go get the PDF online for it's free, just so because you need to understand how low our intelligence has failed from when we was at our Kemetic peak, and them was idiots compared to the Atlanteans, right? They was idiots compared to the Atlanteans. They didn't have to never let us go through this. But Prime Creator said, let nature take its course and you gonna win in the end. Because you done naturally belong to the earth. You naturally supposed to be here and they don't. So nature said, let everything run its course as nature does. And as nature run its course, they can't keep up with the race because they not naturally from here. So at some point, somebody's going to pull a plug on their agenda right? I put a post up on Instagram and it's on my Facebook too, because whatever I put up over there come over here. But the post was about the white horse, and it was making reference to the horse in the Olympics and the Pegasus. These are all three, like, for years I've been listening to Bible scholars. I'm talking about with PhDs called the pale horse white. They it don't say that in the book. It calls the pale horse a pale horse. And it calls the white horse the white horse. But I've been hearing people teach the pale white horse since I was a little boy, and there's nowhere in it does it say pale white. It just said pale horse. Now there's a new translation of the Bible, and that's the Mandela effect, where they called it a pale green horse. But if you want to know the color of a pale horse, it's a Clint Eastwood movie called The Pale Rider. And it's supposed to be based on that verse, the pale, and behold, a pale horse, and whose name that set up on him was death, right? But that's not who the white horse is. The white horse is mentioned twice in Revelations, and the Pegasus horse is mentioned, I think, in the book of Acts, which is the winged horse, which was a symbol of mythology. The Pegasus horse was supposed to only be a horse ridden by the gods, not a unicorn. A winged unicorn and a unicorn are two different mythical creatures. But a lot of times they pass them off as being the same mythical creature. But when the wings are on them, that tells you that it's not for the mortals. This is for the ones that call themselves the gods. Or, as they say, the royal families of the earth with the divine right of kings. But the divine right really comes to the earthborn through their right of mitochondrial succession. And this is why it's supposed to be matriarchal. And this is why we got to go back to it, because if the matriarchy is not the sacerdotal seat, we have hell on earth. When the matriarch is the sacerdotal seat with a matriarch sitting on it, we have heaven on earth. The state of mind, heaven and hell, becomes physical condition by the wrong system operating in the wrong place. That's like trying to cut a loaf of bread with a chainsaw, right? Or trying to saw down a tree with a butcher knife. The chainsaw overkill for slicing a loaf of bread, and the butcher knife ain't gonna cut it on chopping down a tree, right? When you use the right system, the matriarchal system have certain key elements, and these are what we call binding elements for tribal structures, and that's why the tribal mother always had the final say. Because at the end of the day, we all go running back to mama with tears in our eyes, blowing snot bubbles out our nose, crying because somebody took our stuff in the street. Mama gonna tell you get yourself together, and she gonna go, well, who was it? How many was it? What they do? Okay, this how you get your stuff back. Now don't come back crying to me. Go get your shit. That's how Big Mama used to do it. Now everybody's so busy crying, ain't no Big Mamas to tell us how to get our shit back. So my Big Mama told me, you remember your past life structures, how you went and did everything before? Yeah. She said, you're going to have to do that again. I said, oh, man, you mean I got to go wrestle with these niggas? I don't want to wrestle with these niggas. They the worst motherfuckers to try to wrestle with, because they got the blood right, that make them entitled to the point where they don't have to do the work required to fulfill their blood right function. There's the blood and the right does not automatically present you with the prize. Because if you don't develop your spiritual, mental, emotional self and your physical self to be worthy, then you make yourself unworthy by failing to do what's required of you by birthright in order to secure your birthright. And when I was building me, I wasn't trying to get my birthright because it hadn't clicked yet what I had to do and what I was doing. I just knew that from somewhere in this foul work, one of us got to have enough sense to say, I don't like the way life is presented for me and most of us. So I'm going to develop myself to the point where the people that have been looking down on me say, if he can do it, I know I can. All my hater committee, they can be hating on me when they find out that I was right the whole time. They going to be inspired now. Because the little bit that they thought I was, I end up being a giant trapped in the goddamn vial. They open the vial, and now you can't put the giant back in. Same as Pandora's box. So if I can do it, if I can build me up to the point to remember how to restore the tribal structure and call other clans to form and restructure the clans, everybody want me to do the work for them. I can't do everybody work. I can only do my work. It just so happened that the work that I'm doing, if you're paying attention, to give you the necessary instructions to restructure and rebuild. But if you think I'm crazy and you cast me to the side, then you're going to have to wait till we in charge in order for us to really exercise and move like we in charge. And we can't get in charge with a bunch of buffoons running around talking about they woke, they conscious, but they doing all kind of shenanigans and tomfoolery. Look, if people are selling their spiritual gifts, they selling their soul for pennies on the dollar or less. When I come out here, I did all that research, investigation. I wasn't trying to do nothing for nobody. I was just trying to be a better person. I didn't know that came with a side effect. I didn't know that the side effect of trying to be a better person is you end up being the best version of yourself, and that comes with benefits that you have to fight for, but you can't be gang banging, you got to be brain banging. Look, when you are a blood heir and you realize it and you tell somebody, at that point you are now what they call the pretender to the throne. The pretender to the throne is this. This is exactly what it means. You are the next heir to ascend the throne if you fulfill your work and develop your noble character to be worthy to sit on the throne. So now you got a birthright, but you also have a due diligence you have to do in order to secure what's your birthright. If you start building on yourself when it's time for you to collect your birthright, because we got different ages, because we got different clans require different ages for stuff to take place. In some clans, you become a man at 13, but in other clans, you don't become a man till you 33. And then you got clans that fall all in that spectrum. And then in some clans, it don't matter how old you is, if you don't know how to run the farm, you can't never have no wife because you ain't no good husband. And they got us believing that a good man and a good husband is the same thing. You can be a good man and be a failure as a husband. You can be a good husband and a failure as a man. It's the same. You can be a good auto worker. At work, you a bad mofo, but at home, you's a piece of trash. Right? Because you good at one thing will not automatically make you good at another. But anything that you apply yourself to improve yourself in, you're going to be better than you was yesterday, today. And tomorrow, you're going to be better than you are right now. And if you don't have that concept, you're going to be lost in the shuffle. And you're going to be always chasing the Joneses. And so we come in, we got all of this baggage with us, and we want to tell people, I don't need no leader. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Oh, I just got to tell her what's on my... All that's the wrong answer. All that's the wrong answer. I don't care who you is. when you don't know how to do something, you need somebody that you can call that knows how to get it done. That's leadership. The person is just as much leader for knowing who to call to get the job done as the person that know how to get the job done. They don't have to be your lifetime leader. Your plumber is your leader when it comes to your plumbing, if you don't know plumbing. So you let the plumber do the plumbing and get out of his way. Your electrician is the leader when it comes to fixing your electrical problems. So you ain't the electrician. Go sit your ass down and get out the electrician way and let the electrician deal with electricity before you get your ass shocked. Right? You allow the person with the skill set to lead you out of the circumstance in order for you to go ahead and be your own leader. But you got to be willing to follow first before you can even learn how to apply the skills of leadership. Everybody won't want to be at the destination, but they don't want to listen to the man with the map. No. He the only one with the map. No, I'm not listening to him because he got a Jerry curl. But he the only one with the map. His wife too short. What? He the only one with the map. I don't like people that drive Buicks. He the only one with the map. Nah, because he only got German Shepherds and I like pit bulls. What? He the only one with the map. Oh no, he a Muslim and I'm a Christian. He the only one on earth out of 8.4 billion people with the map that know how to read the map and is telling you what the map say. Nope. Nope. He wear Reeboks. You know, we like J's around here. He the only one with the map. On the 8 billion people, nobody else got a map. He the only one got a map and the only one know how to read. His beard got too much gray in it. What? Any excuse to be a derelict failure, not to perform your due diligence to liberate yourself from the oppressive ideologies of the oppressor, you find every excuse to stay oppressed under the name of fighting to get free. You don't have to fight to get free. You have to fight to be in bondage. This is the part they not telling you. Freedom does not come with a fight. Bondage comes with a fight. You got to force yourself to stay ignorant enough for them to keep running the shenanigans on you. That's how you end up staying perpetually in servitude, generation after generation. Everybody want to go along to get along, and nobody don't want to be around the nigga that upset the peace. Everywhere he go, him and the police having it out. Maybe he right and the police wrong. And he know it enough to know that they ain't supposed to be here. So every time them some bitches pull up, he's trying to tell y'all they don't belong here. They are a military occupying force, displacing tribes all across the land under the false pretense of enforcing some shit called the goddamn law. They tricked us in this divergence. It's time for convergence now. It's time to defy all tools that divide and conquer. That includes skin color, that includes religion, that includes your scientific field. You think because you understand melanin and this other person only understand hemoglobin that y'all that drastically different, where y'all can't communicate in the similarity between melanin and hemoglobin? You some damn fools. Oh, you an oncologist and you only talk to other oncologists, so you don't care what a neurologist got to say about the condition of the brain. That's how we move. And they taught us that. That's not natural to us. It is an outside foreign behavior because we dealt with everything from the perspective of what we call holistics. Mean holy. WHOLLY, not HOLY. Holy, as in the whole of a thing. Right? You deal with an organism holistically. Right? So when you understand the purpose of each one of the systems within the organism, then you know how to treat the organism holistically by understanding which system is malfunctioning. Right now, all of us need to go buy a brain. I don't know where they sell them at, but half of these people brain, there's probably some old decrepit brains that's partially decayed in the grave that can think better. This is horrible. I never would have came back to this shit. I wish they would have never conjured my ass up because I don't need to be here. But since I'm here, I'm going to push this motherfucking shit till y'all get it. Y'all gonna get it sooner or later. I'm going to keep telling the truth. I'm going to keep showing you the stage show they showing you where they trying to control you with so you can break from the measures of control. And then you can exercise your freedom from your couch. You don't have to get out in the street and march. March for what? If I march a motherfucker somewhere, we tearing some shit up when I get there. I have a party with you. We can have a wang dang doodle. We can have a shindig, right? We can go kick our boots up. We can shoe shuffle, right? We can go ballrooming, but marching, I'm not marching nowhere. If I march somewhere, I'm tearing some shit up. I'm gonna be making I'm gonna be the motherfucking law. I'm gonna grab all of them clowns that's masquerading. Nope, I'm not finna march. Cause I know if I come marching into your town with the troops, you either gonna be with us or against us. Cause we ain't leaving no motherfucking hostages and we ain't taking no motherfucking prisoners. You either with us or you against it. So when we come in, you better be waving your white flag with the gorilla on it. And I'm going to be waving mine coming into town with the gorilla on it. And you going to know this is a gorilla takeover and it ain't nothing they can do about it. But I'm not finna be doing all that marching because I'm going to get pissed off. The first march and the shit don't go the way we supposed to go, I'm going to be pissed off and we going to tear this bitch up. So no, I'm not going to be doing none of that marching shit. Not, My cousin tried to call in while I'm doing my live. But look, anytime the people want to understand they gave it all back. They gave it all back in the Indigenous Rights Act. They said we had a right to our shit. The problem come in is don't nobody know how to exercise their sovereign right, but everybody know how to exercise their slave rights. Your civil rights are slave rights. Your national rights are slave rights. Your citizen rights are slave rights. None of those are sovereign rights. But they don't believe that individuals can be sovereign and not be part of a corporation without being a crown-carrying, scepter-toting king. That's not what a sovereign is. We were sovereign for they king. Before 1492, the issues that we have today was not our biggest problems. Our biggest problems was who was going to have the biggest cookout this year. Them was the kind of problems we was dealing with. We was dealing with the kind of problems like who had the prettiest horse, who had the prettiest bison. Them was the problems that we dealt with. These American modern problems were not our problems. They brought this shit over here. We didn't have these problems. Everybody over here was filthy rich. There was no such thing as poverty in the Americas before 1492. That's a side effect of being pillaged in warfare. And that's why we was pillaged in warfare, because we was filthy. Everybody wanted to come over here and be part of the House of Tahuti because he knew how to make sure everybody got money. Everybody had a means to support themselves based on their own merit, skill set, and what they had to offer to the community, and all of the members of the community supported each other. Then they came over here with this individualism, this me, myself, and I mentality. Disregard the village that raised the child, but now the whole village retarded. The child got to raise the village. That's what's happening right now. Look at these youngsters. They taking this information Rod Hayes dropping. They taking this information Rashad Jamal dropping. They taking this information Remedy H dropping. They taking this information that Kalai Amun dropping. They taking this information from all of it, from Bomar 7. They taking this information from B-Dale. They taking this information from all of us that's out here that been doing this work, and they taking it to the next level. This is what the system was most scared of. This is why they had COINTELPRO, right? As long as they had Sarnetter doing debates, they figured they had us. Because as long as we was debating which one of these crackers was right, they knew that they had us. You got to remember, I got a correction to make on my video. I said that Gerald Massey wrote Destruction of Black Civilization. That was incorrect. Destruction of Black Civilization was written by Chancellor Williams, and Gerald Massey wrote Ancient Egypt Light of the World. So that gives a whole new perspective of how that story plays out with Sonia Massey, right? Now remember, Gerald Massey and Albert Churchward was the founding fathers of Egyptology, and neither one of them are accepted in academia anymore, right? So as long as we was arguing the validity of their scholars, we was arguing their points from both sides. But as soon as we start saying, that ain't what my ancestors told me, that ain't what that totem pole say, that ain't what that tree arrangement is telling me, that's not the way these people moving on the land, it's not telling me the same story you people telling me, I can't use your references. They disqualify themselves because they collapse under the whole weight of the ancestral messages left on the Wind Talking channel that I accidentally stumbled upon and fell into by birthright. And it don't tell me the same story. But now what I had to do is read the Wind Talking channel. Then I got to go find somebody that y'all accept that said the same thing in order for y'all to be able to even see that I'm not making it up. Because sometimes the doctrine and the actuality is so drastically different that the actuality becomes belligerent to the doctrine itself. So they create that clash. That's the two rams banging their heads on the hilltop. But no matter what happened, the assumed position is always going to fall to the correct position. You can assume whatever position you want, but if you're not the rightful person with the right blood to hold that position, you can't stay there. You can stay there till the rightful person come along, but when the rightful person come along, you got to get out that man's house, you got to get out that lady chair, and you got to let them people live their life in their own stuff. You can't keep it. That's right in the Uniform Commercial Code. In the Uniform Commercial Code, it says when the rightful holder returns for his property, that the thief, it's from the ancient code of thieves, I'm just still using the word thief, the thief then must surrender the property in which he have lived maybe lifetimes of his generations to his rightful owner. So when the rightful heir come along, they don't have no choice. They can either get down or lay down, but they're going to have to give it all up. And it don't matter to me whether they get down or lay down or get laid down. It don't matter to me at all. They're going to give it all up. But see, the problem comes in is, while I'm following this tribal practice, many of us think that the only way out is the way that the enemy told us was the way out. He didn't tell us how to get out. He told us how to get in the basement from the first floor with no exit down there. That's what he told us, how to trap yourself so he don't have to do it. He gave you the map and the blueprint to trap yourself so that he can avoid what's called karmic retribution. As long as he got you amening yourself, wrapping yourself in this don't let my God light shine in the world conjure spell, you can't get free. And as long as you can't get free, you're going to be looking at the people that's coming to try to show you the direction of freedom like they the enemy. And all the time, that's your best ally. You better jump on this bandwagon because once this mug leaves, it's going to be too late to get on. And we keep accepting, look, as long as we look at ourselves as victims, we're going to keep manufacturing through collective will our own victimization. This is why they always want us to, woe is me, my ancestors was in slavery. I wouldn't give a fuck if all my ancestors was in slavery and I'm the first one that ain't. Ain't none of that shit finna stop me from being my best version of me. I don't care what they say. That ain't their choice. That's my choice to be my best self. And the generational curses that break along the way, I welcome that as well. I welcome that as well. I don't mind breaking the generational curses for my family. I love my family. Even the ones that think I'm totally bat loony shit crazy. But when they realize that I already knew what I was talking about from beginning to end, and they be like, man, you should have made me get it. No, I can't make you get nothing. I'm not here to make nobody do nothing, but make these imposters give up what's mine. Give my sisters back their shit so I can get my shit. That's all I'm here for. I'm the only people I'm trying to make do anything. I don't even want to make my kids do nothing. I want to teach them how to do it the right way so that they'll know how to do it right. I don't want to make them do nothing. I want to teach them how to do it. I want to make them. I don't want to use brute force. I want to use the natural curiosity of the child to entice their mind to want to learn that thing in which daddy know. Daddy gonna teach you everything you need to know. I don't care what it is. And that go for my blood child, stepchild, nephew, niece, cousin, neighbor across the street. Any child come to me that want the right answer, I'm gonna give them the right answer, and I'm gonna try to systematically help them to grasp the answer that I'm giving them so that it can grow into something in their mind that help them better in their latter days. I'm not really worried about stopping the child right now from having fun as a child, but I can be planting seeds all along the way, and I can be watering and fertilizing them seeds as the child grows. So does the garden of his mind become an unrestricted forest of freedom. It's not hard. It's not hard. But the hard part is the average person has been systematically taught to be ignorant. And that is an abomination before God herself and humanity, to teach somebody how to deliberately be ignorant. That's as nauseating as it can get. And my dad used to say, that's the dumbest shit in the world. I used to didn't believe that nobody would want somebody to be dumber than them until I discovered that all of the people with high intelligence, if Mensa don't come get you, you gonna catch hell. If Mensa don't come get the genius, you gonna catch hell in trying to be regular. You're gonna catch hell. You're gonna be miserable. You're gonna go through hard times, struggles. But when it's all over, your intelligence should be able to navigate you to higher forms of learning. But the path is brutal, harsh, unforgiving, uncaring. The path, don't care what your emotional state is still going to be the path. You can be as disgruntled as you want to while you walking it. You can cry all the way. You can kick, scream, you can beat on the ground. None of that don't matter that path gonna be that path that make you be the strongest version of yourself in the department of strength that your birthright require you to be strong. You can't alter it. You can't undermine it. You can't shift it. The first thing that you have to realize in reclaiming yourself is, if they lied to me about God, what else would they not lie to me about? Now that put everything that they ever told you under the microscope in your psyche. A lot of people think you have to pick everything apart individually. No, you don't. When you get the big concept understood, the brain automatically begins to sift the information. And in your mind, you got like this algorithm counter of your own thoughts. And you have a spiritual component that erases or it redirects the shit that don't serve your best interest away from you, and it channel all of those that serve your interest to you, which when you realize that the biggest lie they ever told you is God was a man. The second biggest lie they ever told you is that Jesus was a man. The third biggest lie that they told you was that this is not the story of Isis and Heru. In the book of the Bible, Emmanuel is the son. That's Heru. In the book of the Bible, Jesus is Isis. Now, this is where the biggest trick come in, because this goes to Judaism, Christianity in two different directions. When you realize the words in red is two different people talking based on mindset of individuality. I learned this in forensic profiling, and my father confirmed it for me when I showed him. I read Matthew 10, and I was pointing out to him Matthew 10:34. I come not to bring peace but a sword. When I read that part to him, he said, "That ain't the words in red, though." I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "No, it ain't." He said, "Bag up, read some more from before that." I said, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Pops. I'm going to read the whole chapter." And I'm sitting there reading chapter 10 to Pops. When I get to the end of it, he say, "That's two motherfuckers right there. They ain't the same person. That's two motherfuckers." And I started laughing because I'd already figured it out from forensic profiling that it's two different people with two different mindsets that's talking in the red print. It's the mama and the son. And this is why there's so many Marys around ISIS, is because that's the Mary, which the Europeans renamed as the rebellious woman. But in Kemet, it don't mean that. It don't mean that. Ta Mary mean the land of Mary, meaning the land of Isis. Mary was the Sibyls. The Sibyls were the Marys. Right? They was all the oracle priestesses. The 12 daughters of Isis were the Marys. And this is why I have so many godmamas with name Mary or a derivative of Mary. Right? Because the Marys is and they always the dark mothers that lead the 12 tribes. The darkest one, and even if they pale skinned, she gonna have a healthy tan. She gonna have a healthy tan. They got big mamas in the pale community too. I know quite a few of them, and they spiritually sharp as any other big mama, and mentally as sharp. They be up in age. Your Dolores Cannons, your what's that lady name? Linda Moulton Howe. They know what they talking about, and they come from these mitochondrial bloodlines that does not have a look. You got every skin color and every hair texture. If you scroll down far enough on my Instagram page, you will see my 12 Daughters of Isis post, would help you understand it better. Because this is all taken from the ancient sacerdotal seat and the priestesses that protected that seat, right? I got a whole post on, if you go on my Facebook, if you type in Medusa and you and then you pick up the three little dots up there and it say posted by, and then you just type my name, Rod Hayes, and it's gonna pull up the Medusa post where I'm showing you exactly where Medusa got the name from. Medusa is a title of a Sa priestess. Medu means 10, which is the highest of the ranks. It's just like calling her a dime piece now. It's a 10. In Egypt, they counted from 100 to 1. They didn't count from 1 to 100. But over here, we count from 1 to 100. But when you go to the hypnotist's office, when you go to get put under anesthesia, they tell you to count backwards from 100. That's all Egyptian, which is all Atlantean, which is all southwestern United States, which is the Temple of Isis' original location. So we have to look at these segments. Everybody over here, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they did exactly what they supposed to do. That's why they flourish like they flourish, because they under their own vine and fig tree. They go out and they propagate, but they don't put you in handcuffs and drag you down to the Kingdom Hall and make you come to service. They don't do that. But the corporation, if you don't want to participate in their shenanigans, they send these uniform representatives of to enforce their policy, put you in handcuffs, drag you down to their nobility, they nobles called honorables and esquires. You call them judges and lawyers, and then they make you take part in they practice. That don't have nothing to do with us. They closing courts down right now. They closing banks down right now as we speak. And when I get done with this, all you got to do is wait 10 minutes, because I'm going to have a post up showing you that they closing down courts and they closing down banks as we speak. This is a collapse, a total collapse of the corporate system. The financiers, the privateers, the bankers, all of these are pirates looting our land, looting our people, under the false pretenses of running a government. They've never ran government since they've been here. The only reason the infrastructure is as good as it is because they didn't get full control until 1933. Before that, we were still building roads. They take the credit for it now. Oh, the United States government came in and we finished the road. Bullshit, they didn't finish nothing. We built the roads for interstate commerce, but we wasn't building it for state commerce. We was building it for tribal commerce among the outlaw tribes that had got pushed on the other side of Appalachians. Then they pushed us to the Rockies with this goddamn Louisiana Purchase bullshit, and we keep falling for it. And all I'm trying to tell y'all is it's an exit. Oral tradition. I'm following it. And if you pay attention, you're going to see me walk us right out of this shit. Not because I'm smarter than nobody, because I still recognize the lapses in memory and recall processing of data. I still see the glitches in my matrix, in my psyche, from the side effects of being under that spell of hypnotic trance. I see it. But because I know how to adjust, I can conceal where, like for instance, names. I'm supposed to remember a name the first time I hear it. No. But that was part of the conjure, because they, in order to make us confused by the names, when they use a name flips, is they use the spell to make you not remember names. So now you don't know that Jerusalem, New Jersey, that there's also a Jerusalem, Oklahoma, right? You won't make that connection when they tamper with how you process memory and recalls of names. So what do I do to offset that? I research names and research names and research names and research names. So even if I don't remember the person's name, I can't forget their face. I'll just be like, don't I know you? Yeah, I talked to you 4 hours the other day. What's your name? Oh, yeah, I remember now. But people get offended, but they don't know that there's been a whole spell put on us to make it difficult for us to remember names, dates of events, and times of events. We'll look back in the memory and we'll be like, oh, JFK got shot like 9 o'clock in the morning. No, it wasn't. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. No, it wasn't. It was 9:30 at night. We can't remember what time it was, but we can realize that we can go back now and pull that information up. If you have a chance to improve how you perceive, go over an event, write down the time that you think it happened because you remember it clearly. Then go back and check and see if you're right. Most of you are going to be wrong, but if you keep doing it, you're going to start getting right because you got to calibrate. Every mental faculty has to be calibrated. This was what the whole purpose of education was, is to teach the child how to calibrate so that they can use the proper mental faculty in order to help them translate and siphon this information so that they're not trapped mentally. It's not a mind block. This is why I like that L. Ron Hubbard and Dianetics. Dianetics is the handbook for breaking that shit out your brain. The only thing is some of the stuff that L. Ron Hubbard say is not geared toward people from specific backgrounds. But then you got stuff that's geared for everybody. Like his auditor process, yeah, but the information of how the brain works is the most critical thing he wrote in there. When you understand how the brain connects information, now you can start willfully, like going through a library card index, pulling out key pieces of information. It's all there. But you need what's called a linchpin, something to pin it in order for you to find it. So now you take information from varying locations based off a word or a date or a number or a sound. All of these become tools for you to see further into a situation. And the more definitions you learn, like words, etymology, origin of the word, how did the word become into popular usage, all of this stuff enhances how you process. Because the more you experience it, the more that your brain begin to mull this information over on its own while you sleep. What they call that in computer terms, that's when that's a sleeping drive. When the sleeping drive is asleep, then you can run all of your cleansing programs. If you ever notice, most of your downloads and your programs in your computer, your updates, they all come in the middle of the night. Why? Because both computers, the phone and the brain, are down for the night. The only ones that's up, witching hour. They update your phone at witching hour because normally you ain't up at witching hour. But if you up at witching hour, that means you doing something they don't want you to be doing. So you know that your phone going to be offline in the middle of the night for anywhere from 5 minutes to 2 hours, but you don't care because you sleep. You resting. You know about in the morning, all you got to do, if at worst, is restart your phone. That's all by design. Everything they do is designed to oppress us mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. The harshest thing about the emotional oppression is this: out of context emotions. Out of context, nobody never asked you when you got mad, is that emotion out of context? Because that might change the whole dynamic. What they do? They either tell you right or you wrong, right? They never tell you to assess your context of emotion. This is what kept me from hurting a whole lot of people. Is the emotion in its proper context? Meaning, am I mad where somewhere I should be inquisitive? Am I hurt somewhere I should be pissed off at? If the emotion is in this right context, then you got to say, okay, if the emotion in this right context, what's the correct course of action based on how I feel, be in the right context for the situation? Sometimes you got to push the snot box back, but most of the time you won't. Most of the time you won't never have to go upside nobody's head by just checking the context of the emotion. This is emotional intelligence 101 used to its highest application. The first understanding of the emotion is, does what you feel angry about supposed to make you angry? If it's supposed to make you angry, don't let nobody talk you down, because the anger is telling you what to do. Listen to the anger, but don't act on it until you understand what the anger is telling you, because the anger is going to tell you something that the calmness can't tell you. Course of action required for this emotion in its proper context. You should be doing this. Right? Now, you also have to do what's called consequence analysis. All right? So you always keep yourself where you can control what type of consequence you're willing to accept for the action you're about to take. Right? I'm mad at this dude down the street on the corner. I could go down there and punch him in the face. What's the worst could happen? The worst can happen is he shoot me and kill me. Okay, what's the next worst can happen? I punch him in the face, he died, and I go to prison. Okay, what's the next worst that can happen? Right? So when you get done going through your consequence assessment, then you say, based on the context, the emotion being in this correct context, out of all of these, which is the smartest course of action to take? Always ask that last after you go through everything else. Because if you ask that first, the smartest action to take might not be once you went through your analysis of consequence. If you haven't analyzed the consequences involved, you don't know if you're taking the smartest course of action or the most correct action. Because it's the smartest course of action, don't have to make it the correct action. It could be incorrect based off the consequences, based off the accuracy of the context of emotion, and it might not. The smartest thing might be to go and get the shit over with, slap this motherfucker in his mouth. But then, when you get done analyzing consequences, the smartest thing might leave that stupid motherfucker standing right there and let life whoop his ass, because it's going to do some shit to him that I never would have thought to do. Because I thought to slap him in the face. But life going to turn him into a crackhead, make his teeth fall out, have his breath funky, walk around, ain't had a bath in 9 months. He's trying to fix somebody's car for a $2 hit. So my punch in the mouth would have never did all of that, what life did. And that was what my mom used to tell me. She said, baby, you don't always have to make somebody pay. Sometimes you could just let them go on about their business and let life make them pay. And life is going to always be harsher on them than you are, because you only going to give them a temporary solution, and life going to give them long-term suffering. You know. So I know we got to get Big Meech out, because somebody got to have the patience to teach these boys how to live with this money, and I don't got that patience. I got the patience to teach them how to bust a motherfucking cap, how to beat a motherfucker ass, or how to do some psychic shit, but I don't got the patience to tell them that this is how you treat people when you got money. That's another chief job. That's not my job. And that's Big Meech's job. And I don't want his job. I would not want to be traveling around with all of these little young knuckleheads trying to keep them all. But he have a natural ability. If it's a natural ability, that's his job. That means nature gave him that ability. He didn't just say, okay, I feel like I'm gonna do this, so this is what I'm gonna do. No. That's a talent that only nature can give. Can't nobody teach these boys how to walk around filthy rich without making them become an asshole better than Big Meech. Big Meech had all the money he need. He could have left all them niggas and went about his business, but he was serving his community. He could have been living in the Bahamas still. He could have found him a no extradition treaty country and just took a couple $100 million and dipped and been living like royalty. But that's what he did. He loved his people. And this is only somebody from the land that feel like that. All of the foreigners, they want to get the fuck out when they get a few dollars. You get one of them motherfuckers $100,000, he gone. He out of America. He not staying here. He passport bro to Bahamas, Philippines, or somewhere. He not staying here. But Meech had the means to leave this behind him and decided he'd rather teach his brothers how to live with money and lose it all than leave them here with no lessons. That's some grown man shit. That's some grown man shit. That's not even common among street hustlers. The guys in the street he's an anomaly. He had to have some kind of divine mission and gift because he was able to successfully reach him. He was able to successfully teach him. And the government didn't like it. The reason the government didn't like it, because it was working. It was working. Any one of us that do something that help a mass of us, they coming. And that's why in my strategy, I do everything the way I do it. I don't go to no public events. I'm not clicking up. I'm not posseing up. I'm just sitting here talking on my phone. Having a little conversation with myself. I just turned on Go Live so that other people can hear me talk to myself. I'm not doing nothing. But it just so happened that the side effect of me talking to myself is reclaiming the birthright following the oral tradition. I know that. So now I got a video diary of the takeover. And all of this stuff, me and Malachi got to sit down and figure out how to put it in a book or some books so that people can understand what was being done. Right? And me and some of these fruits, we gonna sit down and talk, and then they gonna be able to look at the nation lessons from another level. And then it's gonna have them, it's gonna give the ones that's with the bow ties more respect for the ones in the 5%. Because everybody not supposed to be the same level of morally correct. Or else you would not be able to see yourself climbing through different schools of thought, becoming something better than you was when you started. Right? And I love my peace stones. I don't know why we was so feuding so much, man. I love them stones. Because when Angel Bay around, you got a whole nother caliber of stone than when he ain't. When Angel Bay is present, just who he is, it like massages the manhood in his soldiers, and it erases all signs of fear. Them stones don't bullshit. When you go to Chicago, you go to Motown, you hear them talking about stone running. They mean that shit. They mean that shit. Look, GDs is ambassadors. We go around and we supposed to be making peace treaties everywhere we go. We ambassadors by tribal right. Stones, soldiers. Them the ones supposed to be protecting the community, But we got these motherfucking boys in blue from the Fraternal Order of Police masquerading as our tribal security. And well, you can't have tribal security when you got an outside force because they gonna dismantle that shit. It don't mean that it's gonna erase his birthright to enforce the law of the land on the land. That birthright's still present. That's why they won't let him out. But he gonna come out. All of them. All of them. All of them. Look, Dale Jones, they tell us, I think they say he died from cancer or heart attack or something. Whatever it is, they killed him. They was gonna do him like they did Mumia. But the war correspondent Dale Jones started writing books, and they didn't want him writing books from prison where he got more time to study. Get rid of that nigga. That nigga too. Steve Coakley, murdered. They told us he died from some kind of natural shit. No. Ooh. Steve Coakley was dragging all of the dirty laundry of the secret societies out too soon. The people wasn't ready for it. And the people was allowed, that allowed the people to leave him unprotected. The people left Steve Coakley unprotected. He supposed to have an army of brothers around him and an army of sisters. The sisters supposed to make sure all his food is not poisoned and that it's all freshly prepared and stuff like that, so they can't send him nothing in no processed shit. The brothers is supposed to make sure they didn't ride down on him with the military. Well, in this case of Steve Coakley, it must have been the ladies lacking because they poisoned the shit out of him. They poisoned him just like they did Khalid Muhammad. I think Khalid was a little something different. But anyway, I ain't going to get into that. I don't want to go there because that's a sore spot for me. And anyway, when we start realizing who people is, it changes how we start treating them. Remember, I done been treated like shit my whole life except by a couple people that's not related to me. I got more people in our community look at me sideways than any other community. I feel right at home in the Puerto Rican party. I feel right at home at a Mexican party. I feel right at home at the Belizean party. When I go with a party where it's just us, what we call the regular brothers, man, everyone will always turn into a fist fight. It'll always go bad. Always go bad. Somebody don't think that I need to be there, I guess. I can't figure out no other reason, but it always used to go bad. And I go to them other people parties. I went to a Hmong party. And I thought I was the guest of honor and I was just there. You know, so when you understand that other people can see our tribal leaders and we can't even see them because we've been blinded to it by this system telling us that they are the legitimate authority, and they not, right? They all frauds, right? So I think I'm gonna wrap it up with that. I'm about to go rustle me up some vittles. You know why we always in competition? It sounds crazy, but we always in competition with us because we the best. We don't want to compete with no busters. We want to compete with the best. And if we want to do it, we want to do it as the best. And the only way we can prove that we the best is we got to compete against the best. You think about that. This is why we always at each other head, because every one of us is striving to be the best, and the only way to prove you the best is by competing against the best. And that's what put us in the arena that pits us against each other, right? That's why all of the greatest fights, the biggest fights in the history of the fight game, the top 50 fights was always two brothers. Like, it might not be all 50, but about 45 out of the top 50 fights in the history of boxing has always been against two brothers. Mano a mano. Best against the best. Right? At first it started out one-sided because Jack Johnson was just slobbering everybody until they forced him to take a dive. Sugar Ray Robinson was whooping everybody to death. Sonny Liston was pounding people to the ground until he ran into Cassius Clay, and he turned into Muhammad Ali and became the greatest of all time. Whether he was or whether he wasn't, it don't even matter because he got us convinced. He said it so much and so eloquently and with so much class and so much conviction that we don't even question it. We don't even question it. But to tell you the truth, judging by fighters who fight and watch the fight game, I don't think a prime Muhammad Ali could be the prime Joe Louis. I don't think a prime Muhammad Ali could be a prime Mike Tyson. But if it wasn't no Muhammad Ali, there would be no Mike Tyson. So it becomes an unorthodox paradox at that point, because one influenced the other. If it was no Jack Johnson, we wouldn't have no Muhammad Ali and no Joe Louis, right? And all of the greats, like for instance, if it wasn't no Elijah Muhammad, wouldn't be no Rod Hayes. If it wasn't no Marcus Garvey, wouldn't be no Rod Hayes. If it wasn't no Malcolm X, wouldn't be no Rod Hayes. If it wasn't no Clarence 13X, it's a whole lot of people that if you take one of them out of the equation, I don't be here. I won't be doing what I'm doing if just one of them is missing, because it ain't my time yet. But by all of them being there and all of them being a significant influence, now it produces the perfectly cooked stew of understanding of our condition, and the solutions is always in the problem. And for parents, get you a book of quotes, encyclopedia quotes, political quotes, power quotes, military quotes, witty quotes, funny quotes. But the book of quotes, those are tidbits of wisdom. And the more of them that you can share with your child and use for topics of discussion, you are teaching them more the ways of wisdom than rote information. If you tell them, you hear me say sometimes, Winston Churchill once said that the truth is so valuable it must be carefully guarded by a ring of lies. Right? Well, what do we mean? This is a topic for discussion. It's a way to get a young child's mind to churn. What do we mean? Why would you want to hide the truth with lies? What does it benefit the truth to be concealed with the lie? It doesn't benefit the truth at all. But all of the lies get to shine off that little bit of truth it reflects. Let that sink in. Right? Then they say history is written by the victors. Well, who wrote our history books? Who wrote the history books? Why did they write them? If they the victors and they wrote history, what angle do they put on it to make us see the victor as the hero in the story? What if he really the villain? Have we ever considered that option? What if the victor is the enemy that's telling us the story that make us go along to get along so he don't have to fight to keep us down? So, I'm going to start collecting book of quotes, the little book of quotes, the big book of quotes, the little big book of quotes, the little book of big quotes, the big book of little quotes. It don't matter, because I find that you get, by taking what people said, you get so much more understanding of what was going on in any given time frame, because you understand the powerful people that's making these statements, mindset. Like when I go over the most violent, bloody oath of the papacy, that's the Jesuit oath. But it's not called the Jesuit oath. The Jesuits have another oath called the Jesuit oath. But the secret oath of the Jesuit is the most violent, bloody oath of the papacy, to kill the kings, the princes, and the people of the land. Well, why would they do that? They've been doing that over here because we had kings and queens over here, but we didn't call them kings and queens. Then the foreigners came and they gave us the title of chief to represent our leadership, so we won't never remember the tribal names was always in reference to the sun or to a tree or to an animal, right? So whatever it was, in the end, when it break down, it meant either the shining ones, that means sunny, sunny boy, sun, ray, rah, all these different names. These are names from chiefs. When you double it up, that means they got the chief right from both sides of the family. The boy might start off, his name might be Josh, but they might start calling him Sunny Boy. Why did they start calling him Sunny Boy? They can't help it. It's in the DNA. Whatever we was is what we are, and if you understand the culture, you will see how we respond to different people, right? So we got Big Mama, we got Nana, we got Baby, we got TT, all of those elder women, and the ancestors, the invaders came over. They say we rally around these women like a pack of ants, so they start calling our aunts because we used to call them my mama's sister, because she was your mama too, right? And our grandmama was my mama. But that's got to be too much of a tongue twister 4 generations down, because we was living that long. Because we would have my mama's mama. That's who she is. And the settlers, they couldn't keep up with that. Because sometimes we would call somebody mama for 15 minutes. That means she's almost 300 years old. That's my mama's mama. But we gotta get back. The culture's still here. They told us they can't kill the culture. The culture comes back in phases based on the leadership that's arising at the moment. When they came, there was no high chiefs on the land. There was only what you call interim chiefs, which were chiefs that was learning to become a high chief, who had to be deceived by the settlers in order for them to learn the deception, so that the settlers would never be able to deceive them again. Right? So now they got us disregarding our culture and our natural ways, and what we not realizing is that's one of the things that's making us lag behind in every area, because our culture is present, but we don't acknowledge this presence, which makes it slows down to be seen. And when it slows down to be seen, it's open to be infiltrated as it's following its natural course of progression. So we came up with the rock and roll. They came up with the CIA agents infiltrating rock and roll through the Tavistock Institute, right? When we left rock and roll, they came out with pop music. They took what they learned from the Tavistock Institute and they gave it to something called Sony Inc. Then, once they realized that we just changed the music again, we coming with something called hip-hop. They have to hijack it. And they hold their little secret meeting in 1991 to hijack hip-hop, because it was being used as a tool of socially educating each other about the social climate and the conditions within the communities all across the land. And if any given time, LA, Miami, Dallas, Detroit, Atlanta, and New York all figure out that we're going through the same thing with the same enemy at the same time, and nobody told us, then we can all be the same amount of pissed at the same people at the same time, and that's called unifying a force. They don't want that energetic force unified, so what they do? Hijack the source of the communication. But go back to Buju Banton. It's through that mystical communication within we keep on coming together. I love it to see when brothers and sisters is looking out for one another. We get it from the reggae. So now we, in hip-hop, we mumbling now because we can't tell you what we need to tell you, but we sending you over there to listen to the Rasta man come with that Rasta talk. Right? He gonna come tell you in the dance hall what that man doing. See, he hijack you hip-hop, but he don't hijack that Rasta man. Because we see that double coming. Right? So the ancestors smart as hell. Every way that they thought that they was going to use as an oppressive tool against us, we figured out how to use it as a come up. So that concludes tonight's Chiefing with the Chief. Remember, my next video, my next live I'm going to do by myself, it's going to be titled Chiefing with the Chief. If I was an African, this is why I would be proud. But I ain't no African. So, but I'm going to tell them, go over some stuff in Africa. And I'll probably bring my tablet so I can go over some pictures and receipts for y'all. But if I was an African, I'd be a proud African. I love Africa. I love the Zulu. I love the Dinka, Falasha. I love the Mindi. Them people, they got rich cultural backgrounds. Warloff, right? So when you start realizing, look, I'm going to send y'all down a rabbit hole. Look up Niger Condorfian language, and it'll divide the tribes up over there for you. It's going to blow your mind. Niger Condorfian language, or Niger Condorfian linguistic stocks. Because all of this Bantu's the parent language. One of the most significant languages is Bantu's, because a lot of the tribal tongues that are it's the bridge between the click languages and the non-click languages, and it's the Bantu root language. But they got a real beautiful, rich culture. They're just not my people. I don't have a problem with them. They're just not my people. My people from over here, we rose up out of the Mississippi clay dirt, this color, red, ruddy red, with nappy hair, right? So, I mean, we don't have no adverse. We want Africa free, just like we want free over here. The same. We want Africa free, just like we want free over here. Only we have to fight for this freedom, and Africans have to fight for that freedom. Now, we have people over there called Liberians, right? That's our contribution to assist them over there, because at any time the Liberians want to come back home, the Africans over here have to be the contribution from Africa to make way for the people to, Eddie Murphy, trading places, back to America, coming to America, whatever the hell you call it. But it's all part of the game. And the game is called switcheroo. Switching you with somebody else while they telling somebody else that they switching them with you. So they playing the old switcheroo game. Just like they keep switching up Kamala Harris's every couple of weeks between this little petite lady, this big busted lady, and this man playing the shell game in Central Park. Like, we ain't supposed to see this. They got 15 Joe Bidens. The newest Joe Biden, he almost tall as Will Chamberlain. This lady Jill went from being this tall to him to being all the way down here on his shoulder. Like, what the hell is it? They so obvious with the tomfoolery that, like, what, y'all don't see this? And then you got people in my inbox thinking that I'm picking on Kamala Harris. They don't know I love shit like Kamala Harris. The real one, the Indian lady, that's the real Kamala that parents met up in Jamaica, came to America, dropped the baby off. You know, that Kamala, the real Kamala Harris, I don't have no problem, you know, with her as a woman. She a little freaky for my taste, you know, hot tour and all of that. She a little, you know, but, you know, I just can't get with the man. Because I seen the drag race with these drag queens on a cannonball run, scavenger hunting across the land to pillage and loot all of our resources. Then we over here thinking the Statue of Liberty is a woman. All the time it's a whole drag queen. They've been telling us the story, but we don't want to believe it because we convinced by the kabuki theater that's barring the women so that they can put men in the women's seat. All cross-dressers don't have to change clothes and put on a dress. Some of them can dress like a man, but they're sitting in a woman's seat, like the mayors. Think about that for a minute. Just like the mayors, they all cross-dressing. All of the ones that ain't the women is cross-dressing. They sitting in a woman's seat, the town mother. But that was our culture they hijacked and they repurposed it in order to deceive us into believing that our tribal structure was still here. It's still here, it's just not practiced by us. It's being practiced by the enemy in a way that's being used to subjugate us. The town mother is the mayor. The real mayor of this town is nobody than City Hall. The real mayor of this town that I'm in, Pontiac, is the old lady over there on Prospect named Miss Pittman. She the big mama. She the oldest of the 5 family mothers. That's if she's still living because I ain't heard from her in a while. But she was the oldest of the 5 biggest families, big mama, that's living in the city that was been here the whole time. She hold the position. That's a guy I went to school with named Chickaboom. That's his mama. Right? Tribally, she the one we supposed to be taking blankets to on the holidays. She supposed to get gifts of blankets and slippers from all of the tribes, and she supposed to give them out throughout the year for special purposes and ceremonial purposes. But we didn't undermine. We just let these people just take our whole culture away from us. But I know who she is. Right? I know who put me in the game. I know who came and told me that, hey, look, they came in hostile off a left bump. Sugar Bang. James Love from Pontiac. All of my homeboy, everybody in here Pontiac know who James Love, Sugar Bang is. He got killed. I had to pick up the torch and keep moving. You know? But the ones around here that know who he is, when they found out that I'm the current reigning Chief Pontiac, they hey, wait a minute, that's Bang. No, hold up. That's family, baby. Go ask the sister Lisa, she'll tell you. We was in this together. So I'm just a different chief. He was round face, I'm the long face chief. That goes straight back to Manly P. Hall's Melchizedek picture. Right, with the 4 faces. Right, so we had the ox, that's Oxford. The eagle claw, that's Clawson. Right? The lion, that's Leonard. And then the scarlet robe, that's Auburn Hills. And then you got the chief of the long face. Long face chief, not round face chief. Algonquin. Bird face, the bird man. the bird head chief, not the sun face chief, the pie face, not that chief, right? So when you start understanding that this culture, I had to spend time with the Saginaw Indians. They still up there in Saginaw, looking like us, doing what we do, gigging, right? I had to go hang out with the Flintstones. They made a cartoon based on their culture. The Flintstones. The mining of the rock mines, that was the gravel pits that was a little further up north from Flint that they used to go to. Then Flint is the home of the Auto Workers Union. The Auto Workers Union was born in Flint, Michigan. And so they poison the water, try to get rid of them. The Flintstones ain't going nowhere. You can't poison them out. You can't kill them out. You can't lock them up. The Flintstones ain't going nowhere. They love their home. You can run it down. You can strangle out the financial support. You can murder Mr. Mays, Alderman Mays. You can murder him. But you still can't get them Flintstones out of Flint. Right? And they been there, they gonna be there. It's just sad that you tried to poison all of them people and didn't have any regard for anybody's child, for anybody's granny, nothing. You just poison them all. That's the most ruthless, vilest thing this government in Michigan, no it ain't. Back in the 70s, they were spraying chemicals in Grand Rapids to see how it would affect the general population without telling them. And they had newspaper articles, they had the scrub behind that one because people was finding out and they was being up in arms. And then all of a sudden, the people that was talking about it shut up. And then they went on about their business, building businesses from money they got from somewhere. Wonder why they shut up. And then you had other people that was putting it in print that was disappearing, like reporters and shit. They was ending up reporting in Madagascar somewhere in the little town of 200 people that don't even speak English. That's what they was ending up happening to them because they want to keep that stuff quiet. These people that's saying that they are government has done some of the vilest things you can do to humans on us to try to wipe us out, like the Tuskegee experiment, like the Philadelphia move bombing, like the Oklahoma City bombing, Tulsa, that is, Black Wall Street. I ain't talking about the federal building, but that was the government too. That was Hillary Clinton behind that. Her and the Snowman Bill, right? All of this stuff that they've been doing to us, the worst thing I think they did to us, just kept us down the longest, is to turn us on each other. Just like in the in the so-called slave movie where they used to take I need me a Mandingo nigga, I need me a fighter to go fight it. And so they making the niggas fight. That's what they've been doing to us. They've been sicking us on each other. But see, they come from a different genetic stock from us. So when they grow up with us, they compel us to behave out of character. Right? They catch us. They know what they're doing because they're doing it. As a child, they're not doing it out of malice. They're doing it out of mischief. And that's why they say that the devil go about spreading mischief and bloodshed. He haven't, as a teenager, he haven't developed the malice yet. It's just mischief. It's mischievous. It's the motivating somebody to do some dumb shit so you can laugh about it, no matter how severe the consequence is. This is how they mischievous, but as they grow older, they mischievous endeavors empower them enough for it to become malice. And when it becomes malice, it's pure unadulterated evil. with no regard for any semblance of a moral code or a legal code. It's just straight malice. Like, whoever I can fuck over, however I can fuck over them, they always coming to you borrowing shit, but don't never pay it back, don't never offer to pay it back. And if you ask for it back, they catch amnesia. They do that kind of shit. Or they'll come and then they'll ask you to do something that they know they not going to do themselves. First of all, the only way I'm going to ask somebody to do something I'm not going to do myself is if it's somebody I'm paying to do the job. I'm not going to ask somebody, even the job that I pay, if I knew how to do it, I'd do it myself. Right? The only reason I'm paying you is to do something that I don't have the skill set developed in which I can get the job done efficiently and effectively. But if I got the time to sit there and rehearse it until I get it right, I might be able to just do the job myself and I won't have to call nobody. Because the worst thing for me to do is ask for some help. That's the worst for me. The worst thing I could do is ask for help. I hate asking somebody for help because when people ask me for help, they always got an agenda. I don't got no agenda. So I don't want nobody to come offering me breadcrumbs to abandon my mission because I don't have no agenda. My only agenda is to give my people their shit back. That's the only agenda I got. And now, the only reason I got that agenda because my mama raised me to not let nobody take nothing from my brothers and my sisters. I see y'all shit being held up, and the only way I can get y'all to y'all shit is I have to make a move for mine. I made my move, and like B.B. King said, I didn't make a move too soon. Everything I did was following an ancient tribal practice for the born heir with the spiritual rank, crown prince of heaven on earth, will return in this day and age, just like everybody else, through the womb of a mother. So no matter what the hell they tell y'all, if they didn't come through that portal of life, they came through another portal somewhere else, or they came from outer space and they emerged from something. But if you didn't come from that portal of life, you're not native to this planet. You got to come through that portal to be organic to this planet. And even if they don't look like us, if they organic to the planet, you gonna know it because when the sun get done getting rid of all synthetics, you're going to be surprised at how many niggas ain't here and how many pale faces still exist. You ain't caught up in that racism shit that didn't have nothing to do with skin, had everything to do with socioeconomics, caste control of a mass of people. But you want to take that shit and you want to put it in your sciences and put it in your technology and put it in your history books and put it in your education. It ain't got nothing to do with the skin. It got something to do with the spirit. Espiritus. It got everything to do with the spirit. Because if you don't got a righteous spirit, it don't matter what color your skin is, you a rotten motherfucker. But if you got a righteous spirit, it don't matter what color your skin is, your heart gonna be pure and your actions gonna be purely intended. When you offer help, you mean that from a true place. You don't offer help just so you can get a motherfucker to owe you something. I don't want you to help me if I'm going to owe you something. I come help you and you won't owe me nothing because that's what brothers do. If my sister can't lift something up and she need me to come lift it for her, I'm going to go lift it for her. I ain't going to be asking her where her sorry ass man at because apparently he was too sorry to lift what she needed lifted and made her have to call her brother. And I'm going to go. And she don't owe me nothing. Nobody owe me nothing. And I'm not going to never put a person in a position where they feel like they owe me something. I don't want damn motherfucker owe me nothing. You don't owe me nothing. Anything you give me is a blessing. I don't owe a motherfucker nothing. Anything I give them is a blessing. I offer anything I offer from the truest place in my heart, or else I'm not going to offer it to you. I'm not going to offer it to you. Now, if I'm in the streets and I'm doing street shit, don't trust me. But if I ain't in the streets doing street shit, and I'm doing my moving to my ranch, husbandry, farming other animal type shit, I'm gonna be straight up with you. I'm gonna be straight up with you, because now I'm not living in the dog eat dog world, so I don't have to play the dog eat dog game, right? So um, when you play the game, you got to know the game you playing, and if the game consequences you not cool with, don't play that game. If you don't like the setup or the rules of the game, don't play that game. And always make your enemy bring the rule book with them, because they're going to always cheat. And the rule book is going to be the only way for you to keep them honest. That's why they created rule books to begin with, because the motherfucker kept trying to change the game in the middle of the game. You start with one set of rules, we gonna finish with that same set of rules. But if you start trying to alter the rules, if I can use them to my advantage, I'm gonna use them just like you did. And that, people, been chiefing with the chief. And again, I'll be back with my Africa video. And I'll catch y'all then.